Would I buy this shoe again for $180 after 300 miles so far, knowing it's probably got about 100, 150 more miles into it? Unfortunately, yeah, I would. As we know, the ZoomX midsole foam is absolutely a special foam, but in Alphaflies, Vaperflies, breaks down super quick. But how does it do in an easy day shoe like the Invincible ZoomX? After 300 miles, I will tell you, absolutely incredible. If you saw my original review of the Nike Invincible ZoomX, it went over 5 straight runs, a couple different types of runs. How does it compare to my favorite easy day shoes, the Hoka Bondi and the Asics Glideride, which I did a cost per mile analysis. And now that I have clocked in over 300 miles in this shoe, I'm gonna talk to you about the wear and what I loved about the shoe and if it still rings true today. If you're looking for the quick specs, here they are now. But as I was getting my last run, what put these shoes over 300 miles, 128 beats per minute, just over 8 miles at 8:30-ish pace, I thought the whole time, does this shoe still have that liveliness, that pillow-like feel, that super shoe for easy days as I'm approaching over 300 miles? And I'll tell you, it absolutely does. But first, let's kind of dive into what this shoe looks like after 300 miles, and then we'll get into a little bit more of the granular stuff. As I have looked at how this shoe has worn down, it is ZoomX midsole. We know you could go for a walk around the block and it is going to look like you put some work into ZoomX midsole regardless of the shoe. And so, yeah, there's creasing on this shoe. That doesn't surprise me. But it's not quite as noticeable as I had originally thought. It's very pronounced in certain areas, and then other areas it doesn't look quite as bad. And the other thing is, one of the things that they talk about with ZoomX midsole is chunks will come out. I have a couple gashes because when I travel for work, I shove it into a bag that's probably a little bit tighter with some cords and things, so I know it got poked because I pulled a GoPro cord out of this midsole one time. But it's not really all that worn down, which is really exciting considering I'm 300 miles over this thing. On the outsole, I was a little concerned with the nubs on these outsoles as they're really small, and tend to find when you have little nubs like this, especially on easy days where you have a tendency to drag your feet, that they come off. But the only thing I'm really seeing is the same wear patterns I'm having in all my other shoes in the exact same spots. All the nubs are still there. It is, the outsole will by far outlast the midsole of this shoe. But what may not outlast the midsole of this shoe is gonna be this upper. I'm not talking the actual knit, because the upper part itself is really, really well constructed and extremely comfortable. Extremely comfortable. But what I am talking about is sometimes my uppers do pull away from the midsole. And I don't know if it's because of the way that I run or whatnot, but I've had it with Atreyu shoes, I've had it with a couple pairs of Hoka shoes, and now I'm starting to get a little bit of the signs of that upper pulling away from the midsole on the medial side of my forefoot. Could this be because I'm a forefoot striker? Potentially. Could it be because it's an easy day shoe and my stride changes a little bit on easy days? Maybe. But I think the part that's gonna last the least long on these shoes, by far, gonna be this connection point between the upper and the midsole. Now that you've seen how this shoe has worn for me over the last 300 miles, how's it performing? Because looks are one thing, but how does it feel underfoot? If you remember from my first review, I absolutely loved the way this shoe rode. There was something special about the midsole of this shoe. Whether it was the soft bounciness of the ZoomX, the protection of the foot, or just that pillow-like feel, all run today, I was going back to my first easy run in these shoes and was going, is it the same feeling? do I feel any firmness? Do I feel any ground contact? And the answer is absolutely not. It feels just as lively as I remember it feeling on day one. And when you're gonna spend $180 on a pair of shoes, you would hope it still has that same bounce and that same liveliness 300 miles into the shoe. For me, this shoe still has that bounce and that liveliness. Yes, there is creases. Yes, there is a little bit of broken down openings in this ZoomX midsole. But from a feel and from a ride standpoint, it feels as though I just pulled it out of the box, which to me is the most important part. So, ride, feel, that's a check. Still feeling strong at 300 miles. Second is the foot protection and just overall soft feel on the body when I'm putting in easy mile days. The biggest goal I'm trying to achieve with my easy miles is simply to get the miles in, but also protect the body. And to know that 300 miles in, I'm still getting that same protection. I'm honestly quite shocked that this shoe is really performing that well this far into it and still feeling that same liveliness that I did when I took it out of the box. So from a foot protection standpoint, check that box too. So the question becomes, would I buy this shoe again for $180 after 300 miles so far, knowing it's probably got about 100, 150 more miles into it? Unfortunately, yeah, I would. Why do I say unfortunate? It's $180. That's a lot of money for a pair of Easy Day shoes, but it's just the best Easy Day shoe, in my opinion, out there, and I would do it. The good news is they've got to be coming out with version 2 this year, and I am not hesitant to buy V1 to save some pennies on what I consider the best Easy Day shoe. If you missed my full review of this 5 straight runs initially, check it out right here. If not, we'll see you on the next video.